Hello, so I got a lot of requests to film this video talking about the symptoms that I had before my kidneys failed. And I have them all here at the side with my notes, so I hope it's okay that I'll be looking to the side sometimes. But yeah, just to clarify, in my other video when I said that none of these symptoms were attributed to kidney disease, I meant that neither me nor my doctor attributed them to kidney disease. We thought it was something else. In my other video, you can see that that was the case with my anemia. So let's get to the symptoms. One symptom that I had was itching. I was itchy basically everywhere in my body and it was never ending. But because I was so busy, I could kind of ignore it or put it at the back of my mind while I was doing other things. Attending class, doing exams, or studying, training. But once I gave in and scratched my arm even a little bit, suddenly everywhere in my body felt itchy. I'd just be scratching my whole body. But I never got it checked because I've always had really dry, really itchy, sensitive skin, although not to the degree that I was just describing. At the time, I had a special body lotion and body wash that was prescribed to me by my dermatologist, but I was really inconsistent with using it because I was really irresponsible. So I just thought that it was because of that. Another symptom that I had, I'm going to be talking about this one for a while, was muscle cramps. Really, 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 really horrible muscle cramps. They were triggered by the simplest movement or sometimes no movement at all. For example, I'd be brushing my teeth, not even holding the brush too firmly, but my hand would suddenly cramp and I would have to massage it in order to get my fingers in the right place again. Or sometimes just randomly while walking, while standing, while sitting, while sleeping, I'd suddenly get a cramp and it would last for 5 to 10 minutes or even longer. Sometimes I'd get them in my calf, which is common, And when you get a calf cramp, usually you have to do a plantar flex to relieve it. But sometimes the cramp was just so strong that I was too weak to do the flex by myself and I had to ask someone else to stretch my leg for me. That wasn't even the worst part, honestly. I would more often get cramps in my knees and my toes, which are not very common, I don't think. And because the muscles in your knees and toes are in such odd positions, no stretch would relieve the pain. When I would try stretching them out, it would just create cramps in new places. Sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night with these cramps, and because nothing would work, no amount of stretching would work, I would just have to sit there on my bed in pain, waiting for it to subside. It would last for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, even 15 minutes sometimes. And it was really painful. Stupid me, I didn't get it checked because at the time I was in a dance company. We were training almost every day for hours and hours preparing for an anniversary dance concert, a very big production. I will say it is only by the grace of God, who is always good and always faithful, that those cramps that lasted for 15 minutes never came up during training until after the concert, when we weren't preparing for a big production. I was also juggling training with school. I just knew that I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't managing my time well. I wasn't eating right. I wasn't sleeping right. I wasn't drinking a lot of water. So I just thought it was because of that. When I would tell my mom about my cramps, she would just say, "You're dehydrated." And I did try to improve myself. I tried to drink more water. I tried to eat more vegetables. I became more aware of what would trigger the cramps. For example, I noticed that when I get cold at night, I'm more prone to getting the cramps. So I started dressing more warmly in like full-length pajamas, long-sleeve shirts, so that I would be warm. It did work actually. I started having them less often. But then by the time that the cramps were starting to be less frequent, it was already a few days before I was hospitalized for kidney failure. And at that time, I was just so tired. Thankfully, at the time I was on break, but I was just so tired. I talked about this in my other video, but by this time I knew I was anemic. The months leading up to a few days before I was hospitalized, I was also always tired. I was always sleeping in class, between classes, after classes. There were times that I was late to training because I took a nap after class. Honestly, it's a miracle that I passed. But by the time of a few days before I was hospitalized, I was tired to the point that every movement just took so much effort. I really had to force myself to sit up, to stand up, to raise my arm, to walk around. It was by this time that I really started to ask all of these questions. I know some people who go their entire lives eating a lot of fast food, a lot of processed food, barely eating vegetables because they're pickier than me, or their parents just don't cook vegetables in their house. Sleeping poorly. Some of these people that I know, they even drink, vape, smoke. They don't seem to be so affected by all of these things that could harm your body. And I was thinking to myself, I only started eating this poorly 2 years ago when college started, and especially when I moved into a dorm and started staying at home less often. So, why are all of these weird things happening to my body in such a short time? And then I got my answer a few days later when I was hospitalized. Apparently, my kidneys were failing, and that's why I had been feeling so unwell. So yeah, those are basically the main symptoms that I had before my kidneys failed. This was more than a year ago. And since I started dialysis, I haven't gotten any muscle cramps. Absolutely zero. Praise God. I still itch sometimes, but not nearly as bad as before. And dry skin is very common among dialysis patients. I still get tired easily, but I still have so much more energy compared to before. And generally, I really feel so much healthier than I did the months leading up to when I was diagnosed with kidney failure, when I was attending class, when I was training. That is really all by the grace of God that I was diagnosed in time before it was too late, and that I'm doing a lot better now. That's everything. If you watched until the end, thank you so much, and God bless.